what's up, everybody? Clayton Gitz here, joined by my beautiful co-host, Stephanie Gitz, my wife, and my good friend, Mr. Matthew Kane. I'm so excited about today's podcast because Matt is not only a real estate agent, real estate team leader, a real estate investor. He is also a former, was it stripper or dancer, cover model, firefighter, former fire.
All over.
He was not a
Former
stripper.
firefighter. I don't know. There's a lot of ladies out there that would disagree.
But he is married with kids.
Is married with kids, and so I'm super excited. Served our country in the military, so we're gonna unpack that today. But so grateful for your brother and your time. You actually drove up here from Wilmington, North Carolina, to spend some time with us. So welcome.
Wow, we're so grateful.
Happy to be here, and I learn something every time I'm with you guys, so I appreciate you having me. And this whole idea of proximity is kind of really very much so what I credit to taking my business to the next level. So thank you.
Yeah, same here, man. Awesome. So Steph, you want to let's start off with like who is Matt, and if you want to read his bio, and then we'll hop in.
Yeah, and I'm super excited to dive into that, Matt. So to start, I want to start with what he has accomplished just in the last couple of years. Matt dove into real estate in 2018. His first year, he sold 40 homes. Then second year, 80 homes. He was actually a firefighter right before.
Do not cut that, Tim. Leave that one in.
A firefighter right before he jumped into real estate. Currently, he has a team of 20 agents. He's focused on getting out of production, and he loves helping his agents and growing the investment side of his business, which he's been diving into this last year. He says he's starting to feel like a real team leader and an investor who is seeing money work for them. Did I say that right?
Spot on.
Yep. He's in a really good place. As a matter of fact, he's on the real estate investment side. He's bought 8 homes in the last 2 months. He actually bought 1 or 2 on the way up here. Did you say 1?
2 listings, 1 home.
Okay, he listed 2 homes on the drive up here and purchased 1 home himself, which is amazing. So I wanted to start with that so you know that he is someone that we can all learn from. Going back a little bit, he grew up just south of Boston. He has 2 brothers and 1 sister. He's always worked and competed through his childhood, primarily with his father. He joined the Marines in 2007 during his senior year of high school, despite being accepted to all schools he applied to. Which ones were they? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't even remember at this point. I think it was University Connecticut. I primarily wanted to go to school in Connecticut, New England, so a bunch of schools throughout.
But you graduated like top in your class. Yeah, is that right?
Did really well in school.
Did really well in school. So he's accepted to all schools and still chose to bypass that and go into the military. We're going to dive into that too. He had near perfect military testing scores. He was able to pick from any job he desired. He, though, picked the lowest requirement as it had a path to his desired end state. He joined as a basic infantryman. And what I think is so cool about that is like you are so focused on your end goal and you did what was necessary. He became a demolitions explosives expert, deployed to Africa, Haiti, and miscellaneous other countries. He performed very well on his first deployment, attended scout sniper indoctrination course, and it is actually called that, which is also really interesting. Only 4 out of 140 passed this course. He was deployed to Helmand Province, Afghanistan, as a scout sniper after that. He left the military planning to come back as an officer. Military injuries prevented him from getting back in. He then went on to open a gym after military while attending school. He went to Rutgers University and eventually the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, where he graduated Student of the Year in 2016. So you can say he's a motivated guy. Immediately, he was hired by, Deloitte Consulting, and quickly realized what his time was worth and was unhappy with DC lifestyle, he was missing the service aspect of his life. So he moved back to Wilmington, did inside sales to pay the bills, and waited for a job as a firefighter to come through. In 2018, he was a full-time firefighter selling 40, and at that point got into real estate, and that's where he sold 40 homes his first year. So
Which is crazy.
I mean, it's crazy, and I just love reading all about your background. It's absolutely fascinating. We were talking before we started today. I wanted to know, he graduated top in his class, and he could have picked any school. Most people would never have chosen the military route. So would you explain and share a little bit about why you chose to go the military route versus going to school?
Sure. Yeah, you forgot my part about the stripping throughout the night.
Yes, I did. I forgot that part.
We'll get that on the next podcast. That's okay. But yeah,
you mentioned him being a stripper.
Oh, stripping.
Yeah.
I forgot that.
I thought you said tripping. I was like, oh.
But yeah, so I all throughout high school, I was always competitive in school, always competitive in sports, sort of a 3-season athlete type of situation. Always did really well, exceeded expectations. Applied to probably 10 different schools, got into everything I applied to. Really didn't know what I wanted to do. Didn't know what I wanted to do. Thought that I wanted to be a physical therapist. I'm glad that I did not anymore, but kind of got to that point where I just wasn't sure. And all of a sudden one day I came home and brought a military recruiter to my house and signed up for the Marine Corps because
who brought a military recruiter?
I went my own independent self. I ran down to the military recruiting station, spoke to the Marine Corps recruiter, didn't speak to any other recruiters. Went in there, and I remember our conversation was something along the lines of me trying to be intelligent and say, what kind of bonuses, what kind of incentives do I get for joining the Marines? He said, the only incentive that you get to join the Marines is that you become a United States Marine. And then, the Army, the Navy, they're all offering big bonuses to go in, and I didn't even waste my time talking to anybody else. Went right to them, brought the recruiter home, brought my mom to tears, and signed up for the Marines when I was about 17 years old.
So you come home with a recruiter, and your mom is in tears. Tell us why she was so upset.
It's her baby boy. I am the first person in our family that's actually not correct. My father's father was also a Marine, but he's kind of always been on the outside type of thing. The first person that my mother has been close to that's ever joined the military. And of course, she thinks military, she thinks war. And
we were in one.
Maybe rightfully so. But I basically just explained to her what the pathway was, what I was trying to do. And she I wouldn't say she was giving me permission, but she got over it.
How long did that take? Just curious.
Probably after my first year in the military. Yeah, so a couple of years.
But you were 17 when you brought the recruiter home, so you were under,
I signed up when I was under 18, and then as soon as I turned 18, I was in boot camp.
Okay.
Wow.
And so your dad was not in the military. Your grandfather was in the military. Was a Marine.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Did your dad take it as hard as your mom?
No, not at all. My dad's family is very thick-skinned. I'll never forget what my grandmother told me. His mother, she told me it's about time you get out of the damn house. That's the kind of mindset that side of the family has. So it's a little bit different.
Your grandfather still living?
No, he's not.
He passed.
Not
Okay.
at this point. Yep.
But was he, when you enlisted, was he?
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So basically, you went into the military because you were like, I don't know what I want to do, so I'm going to do this until I can figure it out, sort of thing.
It was I was always into fitness. I was always into exercise. I loved to run. Went in there, you see a bunch of guys in there working out together. They're traveling the world. They're doing these things. Telling you about all the places that you'll go, and that's kind of what got me. It was never, I never joined the military, where you hear a lot of people that say, hey, after 9/11 came, I knew I was doing that. It was never like that for me. It was always about, I wanted to be around these people because that's the kind of lifestyle that I wanted to live. Even then when I got into the military, as I kind of took it to the next level, so to speak, it was always, okay, those are the guys I want to be with. If I'm going to war, that's the group that I want to be beside.
Right.
And that was because
The mindset, the
mindset.
physical fitness,
It was,
the camaraderie,
even joining the military kind of right out of the gate, graduating top of the class in boot camp, best physical fitness test, best swimming, best everything, just kind of perfect testing across the board. It was always what's next. And then, you see guys that are, whether it's recon, special forces, scout snipers, all of that, they are taking it to the next level. They are professionals. It's not just, your young kids in the military. It's people that are there for a reason. And those are the people that I want to be around.
It's amazing.
What is the Marines version of the Navy SEALs?
It's MARSOC right now. When I was in, there was sort of a transition going on where it was going from recon Marine to Marines. Never really had a branch there in special operations. It was always kind of recon. Force recon was top of the tier.
Okay.
And they just became part of Special Operations Command, so they were transitioning to MARSOC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. So, so let's continue on that path. So you join the military, and then basic training. So take us from there.
So kind of my military history. After basic training, I knew that I didn't want to be a basic infantryman. So I went to demolition school. I became a demolitions expert. That's everything from rockets to explosives, right? Breaching doors, blowing up tanks, whatever would come across your path, so to speak.
But you're also like what's the word when you're not taking apart bombs, but you're
setting them.
You're setting them. But were you also, if you came across a mortar or were you
no,
also?
that's a different specialty.
Okay.
So we blew stuff up. EOD prevented stuff from blowing up.
Okay. So you weren't going in the big suits with
no.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Because I was about to ask you I just think I was like those people, like the mindset you would have to do something like that. But
Seriously.
Okay. So you get into explosives, and then from there.
So from there, basically I deployed to Haiti. So we went to Haiti. We did 24th MEU. We started that MEU by going to Haiti after the hurricane, after the earthquakes. Basically did a humanitarian mission there, which is, you don't think about this kind of stuff, but it's, U.S. aid was being delivered. All kinds of international aid was being delivered to Haiti. Everybody lost their homes. And I'm sure cartels are very prevalent down there. And cartels were hijacking all the U.S. aid, and the people were starving. So they basically hired us to protect the U.S. aid, ensure that it got delivered to the local nationals. So we spent about 2.5 months there, then went over to Africa, primarily training in Africa, and then a few other random incidents, but primarily training over in Africa. And that was the end of that deployment. We were there for quite a while in Haiti. So
and
did you see action? I'm sorry, honey. Did you see action in Haiti?
No, actually, there were several people did, but I never did.
Okay.
The first time, oddly enough, the first time that I saw action was when I shouldn't have seen action. And when we basically arrived in a country over in Africa, we were supposed to be working with the local national armies, and they decided to fire at us. So that was the first time, completely unexpected.
Wow.
But that's how that was my first time, so to speak.
So they were supposed to be friendlies, and
they're supposed to be friendlies, but they communication issues when you see a bunch of people showing up with guns on your home territory and you don't know that they're coming.
Gosh.
That caused
Somebody
a lot
dropped
of
the
issues.
ball on that one.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
It happened.
So they worked that out. Like you figured.
We figured that out.
Yeah,
That was a one-day event type of thing.
Okay.
But then, so basically did really well on those deployments. Kind of everybody knew I knew my job really well as far as demolitions go. And I had a gunnery sergeant approach me and basically say, hey, how would you feel about going out for this platoon? Which was a scout sniper platoon. They had a bunch of people that were getting out of the military, so they had a few spots opening up. They had 3 spots. Out of the entire battalion of Marines, which is a couple thousand Marines, 140 were invited. And out of the 140, about 3 people made it through the INDOC course, which is just a combination of physical, mental abuse,
Psychological.
for about a week. Yeah, that's essentially who's going to quit. Is what it is. And I just went into it. I think a lot of people don't have the right mindset going into it. You know, the mindset out of 140, to put it in frame, I would say half of them quit within the first hour because they didn't have what it takes to be messed with.
Will you share?
Why do you think where did you develop that mindset? Because where did that come from, Matt?
It's a great question. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. I think I've always been a grinder. I've always been a worker. Even in sports, I've never been the most talented at anything that I've done. I've always just outworked people. I've always been anything that I could have control over, I would have control over, right? Hockey, I was never the most skilled player, but I was always the fastest, and I always had the best endurance, and I'd always last throughout the game. And I think I get a lot of that from my father, who would just never allow you to quit anything. And if you're there, you're all in on it.
Okay, there you go.
And that's really...
How did he, I'm asking selfishly, honestly, because we're dealing with a daughter that's having, some anxiety and panic issues. And how did he encourage you not to quit when
I'm laughing in my head. We are a family of...
Quitting wasn't an option.
We had a lot of negative reinforcement in our family. Because that's how my dad grew up without a dad. He was always, he was always that guy, which he had to be there type of thing. And for me, it was... I can't say the words that he would say, but it would basically be suck it up is essentially how it goes. I always tell people this story. When I was a kid, 15 years old, I got hit by a car. I got hit by a car off my bike, ran over by both my legs, ran over, broke my ankles. It took 3 days before my dad took me to the hospital.
No way.
Yeah. Get in bed, walk it off.
Oh my gosh.
Like, that's the kind of
so looking back on that, I mean, you have had incredible success. Are you grateful for that? Or
I am. And it's
because a lot of people would say that's like, yeah.
I mean, it's the funniest, just like the military. I mean, best, worst times of your life, just looking back on it. And it's having that mentality. I never quit anything. And as soon as I am successful in something, I'm pushing for the next, what's next? Let's keep going.
Do your brothers all have the same mindset that you do? Did it work for all of them?
No, we're all really, maybe it's because I was a middle child. I don't know. We're all really different. My brothers, I have one brother who works for the federal government. I have another brother that's an engineer, just completely different personalities, completely different
Interesting
mindsets.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
And I think it's a combination of basically today where I am is a combination of that child, basically, the childhood years with a combination of a military discipline is really what it is.
I was watching randomly last night. Tom Brady had an interview with PBD with Patrick Bet-David, and he was talking about he was never the most physically gifted. He was slow. Like he was like I was slow, and he said, but he wouldn't quit. He said he wouldn't quit, and he just outworked everybody else. And he asked one of his coaches, I don't know if you've ever heard this, Matt. He asked one of his coaches, he was like, what do I do? Like, this guy's, I'm like the fourth string or fifth string or like sixth string or something at one point in college. And his coach said, when you get a rep, you make it the most amazing rep. Like every rep that you get, you outshine everybody else. And he said, that's what I did. He said, I got a rep, and he said, I would run on the field, be like, all right, let's go, boys. He said, I would treat it like the Super Bowl, every single rep that he got. And people were like, this guy's a freak show. But the energy that he brought to the huddle and the enthusiasm, and he went from being the sixth or seventh backup to being the third, and then to being the second, and then he got 4 reps, and then 10 reps, and then 15, and then he was starting, right? And so I love that story because there's a lot of really talented people out there that just don't have the mindset. And so it's amazing to me that 140 people show up, most of them quit, for this indoctrination course, and only 3 are left standing.
Correct.
It's incredible, and it had to mostly be all the peers.
It was a combination, right? So there's a lot of physical. I think what I thought one of the toughest events was like the land navigation. Land navigation in the Scout Sniper Indoc. It's about 30 miles covered in the middle of the night. You're wearing a 100-pound pack. There's no GPS. You're finding flags out in the middle of the woods, just going from point to point. And they're placing these flags in horrible places, in like the bottoms of ponds and all kinds of stuff for you to go find. In the rule in the Indoc course, as well as Scout Sniper School, is if you are in a forward motion, you are running. All right, so that's 30 miles straight. Where if they caught you walking, you were done. So just stuff like that. And then I told Steph earlier, we eventually got down to 10 people. They had 3 spots. So 10 of you guys go right over there, do push-ups until 7 of you quit. And it's like the mental toll that things like that take.
And you said you were there for hours.
Absolutely there for hours, because these guys had all laid it on the line for a full week out in the woods, and
Nobody wanted to quit.
Nobody wanted to quit, and it's just a mental struggle. But when I went into that, quitting wasn't an option. It was, okay, I'm there for a week, suck it up, get through it, do what I'm told, and I'll finish. It wasn't, I would have had to been fired from an Indoc in order to leave. I was there.
But we're capable of so much
Exactly.
more.
Yeah.
Like those 10, I would love to know where those 10 guys are today. I mean, because just to get to that point where you're literally probably throwing up,
Right.
To out push up the next guy.
You're at the point where you cannot do another push-up, and you're just sitting there trying to do a push-up for an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
My gosh.
But you're still in it. But you're still in it.
You're still there.
Yeah.
Here
It's
we are.
incredible. I love it. That stuff fires me up.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Let's do some push-ups.
I know, and I want to dive into all of these things. I know we don't have time to go into everything, but so I want to skip forward a little bit, because we've definitely got a good idea of your mindset and like your grit and the kind of grit that you have, and the kind of work ethic you have. So you come home and you go, and I think you went straight. Was it straight to the to be a firefighter, or was there something in between?
There was a little something in between, basically. Got out, went to school, went to Rutgers University for a while, then UNC, and.
But now you know what you want to do, right? Or you have a better idea, or did you at that point?
I knew I did not want to work. It's tough to say. I knew I wanted to work in business. Wasn't sure if I wanted to work for someone else. So I went to business school, got my degree in entrepreneurship and business development. Graduated student of the year, immediately got a job with Deloitte, which is historically will only hire from Ivy League schools. I was the only person out of my entire class that was not an Ivy League graduate.
So tell this story, because this is awesome. About how you got hired.
How I got hired.
To Deloitte.
So basically how I got hired to Deloitte, I was persistent as hell. It's really what it was. Basically called every single person repetitively over and over and over again, until I got a seat in an interview.
So they didn't come find you.
No,
you went and
take note.
Every other person that I was there with in this class was 12 to 20 people, whatever it was. They were all Yale, Harvard, I'm UNC Wilmington. I'm not even the real UNC, and I'm here. And
wow,
not even the real UNC. That's awesome.
It's that's all it was. It's just persistent, following up with them, being a professional, and getting your seat that way. And people aren't willing to do it.
And I'm hearing a consistent theme here throughout all of what you've done. It's amazing.
Yep.
So you go to business school, you graduate from there.
Yep.
So hey, honey, I'm sorry. So I just want to go back real quick. So did you so was there one person that you followed up with consistently, or was it just
you could just come
when I figured out who the person was? Yes.
Okay.
It was figuring out how. I mean, you can submit your applications online. You're never going to hear anything back.
Yeah.
This went through going on LinkedIn, finding the recruiter for the specific job you wanted, finding multiple recruiters, contacting them all relentlessly until I'm actually put in touch with the person who I wanted to connect with. And I actually did not get the job I was originally going for. But what ended up happening was I bugged him so much. He said, "Hey, we have slots opening up here. Is that something you consider?" I was like, "Absolutely."
Yeah, just get a foot in the door, baby. Yep. Just get a foot in the door.
Got my foot in the door. Yeah. I did strategy and operations consulting for not that long, maybe a year and a half to 2 years. I was up in DC. My wife was traveling Monday through Friday. Obviously, we're traveling, wanted to start a family, was working from 5 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. And I had a conversation with somebody, and they basically picked his brain and said, what is your one piece of advice? I said, know your worth. Know what they're charging you, know what they're charging for your time, and figure out if what they're paying you makes it worthwhile.
So how did you determine? Because yes, you're right. Know your worth, but also you have to kind of earn that too, right? Like, so you can't. We'd all love to be like, well, my time is worth $1,000 an hour, but you got to earn it, right? So how did you figure out
billables? When you see that Deloitte's charging a client, or any consulting firm's charging a client $250 an hour for your time, and then you're getting paid $40 an hour, and
That's
you're
how you
working all
figured it
night,
out.
all day, all the time. That's how I figured it out.
But you also have to believe that you're worth more.
Yeah. That's right.
Right. So, and you obviously believe that you were. I always did as well. I always believed that my time was worth more.
Yeah.
Even in pharmaceutical sales, when you and I were making really good money, I believed that my time was worth more. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Okay. So from there, from Deloitte, what happens next?
Made the decision that we didn't like the lifestyle. We wanted to start a family. I said, hey, the one piece of the military that I was really missing at that point was the service aspect. So I said, okay, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to Wilmington. I'm going to become a firefighter. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to become a full-time firefighter. And then obviously I want to make more money. So I'm going to sell a couple homes here and there to supplement the salary and take care of the family. Became a full-time.
So sorry to interrupt. So where in that process did you get your real estate license again?
I actually went down and I worked for Keller Williams. I was an ISA, completely unlicensed, inbound leads only. I was an ISA calling maybe 600 people.
But how'd
a
you
day.
get connected, Matt? How did you get connected with the KW team down there? Because you went from Deloitte to
real estate. Yeah,
right? So
it's maybe because real estate's always been in our family. It's always been something I've been interested in. It's something that's in my wife's family as well. I don't think anyone's really done it at the level that I'm doing it, but I've always known about it and known there was good money in it. And oddly enough, I actually completely forgot about this until now, but the reason I really got into it is because when I was throwing around ideas, I had somebody in my family tell me that I can't do it. Say, no, you don't really have what it takes to be a sales type personality. I can't really see you being successful in doing that.
Wow.
who told you that?
It was an uncle who told me that, who was also a real estate agent.
He's eating his words now.
Yeah, well, yeah. But I mean, from my background, anybody looking at me probably would have said the same exact thing.
What does he say now?
Here we are.
What's his name?
I'm not putting him on the spot. Get me.
What's his number?
Over here. But yeah, that's really
So Uncle, he is crushing it in real estate. Just whatever your name is, Uncle. All right.
So that's sort of tell me what I can't do, and
I'm gonna go do
I'm
it.
gonna go do it.
Yeah, boy.
So that kind of stuff.
Well, it was actually a gift to you that he said that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So cool.
So you're a
ISA.
you're an ISA and you're a firefighter.
Yeah.
Full time.
And which is funny because you went to business school and firefighter. And again, firefighting, just like military, is not necessarily a career people go into for the money, right? Like it's because I want to serve the
Correct.
community, right? Or my country as to why you do those things.
Right.
So then transition us from there to where we are today.
Yeah. So basically, I was ISA, got my license, was also a full-time firefighter. Told my leadership that, hey, I don't want to be an ISA anymore. I'm licensed. I want to sell houses. I was told, you're not ready to sell houses. You don't have what it takes to sell houses. You're good on the phones. Stay on the phones. And immediately left that company and went to a boutique brokerage for a while, individual agent, and this is crazy, but pretty much passively selling real estate while at the fire station with downtime. Sold about 40 houses that first year.
Part-time.
Yep, part-time. Spoke to Clayton, picked Clayton's brain, scaled things up a little bit the next year.
How did you guys get connected again?
Dustin Brome. It's kind of one of those things where I didn't realize what I had in my back pocket until I needed help. Where I was with our brokerage with EXP for about 2.5 years before I even understood what the revenue share model meant, and that I had access to people that were doing bigger and better things. I sort of joined it just to be on my own, is what I originally joined for, and missed out on that opportunity for a few years.
Wow.
Yeah. But then, and so basically got to the point where I was selling 80 homes a year.
In your second year.
In my second year, and then 100 plus kind of going forward. But I eventually got to the point where I never wanted a team. It was a need. It wasn't, you hear a lot of people saying, oh, I want to create a team. It was never that for me. It was, I can't handle the business that I have. I need to bring on agents or I'm going to drown. So that's sort of
because you were generating so much business.
Generating so much business. I think when you get to that point where your phone's going off all day and you dread answering it, that's sort of a sign where you need to step it up.
It's been there, yeah.
Yep. So got to that point, started growing the team, didn't really have it all put together. Brought a few agents on as buyer's agents, stuff like that, and it just never really shook out because I never really stepped away from production. I actually eventually met a gentleman named Brandon, and Brandon is a 20-year, Marine Corps operations officer, and he runs a tight ship. So I kind of partnered up with Brandon. We're putting the team together, which gave me more time to think about, okay, what kind of value can I offer to the team to make sure that this team is growing. It allowed me to take a step back where he kind of held the reins and kept everything under control. Started developing a value proposition for not only for clients, but for agents, and started growing the business, grew it from, we've only been active for a year, and we went from 3 agents to we'll be 21 today, and just going to basically work myself out of production, which I already pretty much have at this point, and focus on providing value to the team and investing in real estate.
So is the core value, one of the core values, Marine snipers need only apply? Is that right?
All right.
Yeah, because
Or at least I would say
there's a
Marine
lot.
sniper mindset.
Yeah, well, I'm listening. I'm listening to your, and I knew some of this, but I didn't know a lot of it, and certainly not a lot of the details, Matt. And you and I have conversations. I know you talked to Sarah, our sales manager, yesterday, just about the frustrations that we deal with people in general, and trying to quote unquote motivate people to do their jobs, and so it has to be challenging for someone with your mindset to watch people not just do your job, right? Like, right. And so I want to kind of unpack like how you deal with that, because you're intense. You don't come across, but I don't know if you guys can see this. Like this is who he is all the time. He's very, very laid back, very just a humble guy. But he's obviously he's incredibly intense. So 2 questions here. How do you feel the military helped you in your to prepare you for business ownership, to prepare you for what you're doing today? And then how are you dealing with people that are just not giving it, everything?
Yeah. So I would say military, as far as how they prepared me, would be discipline. I think, again, I'll tell you right now, I'm not the best real estate agent in the world. I don't handle my transactions better than any other agent in the world. I just work leads every single day. I have the habits in place that enable success, and basically that discipline over time has just compounded everything. And I've always been the kind of person where I don't let other things get in the way, right? If my lead generation time's from 8 to 11, that's it. Like, I'm focused and that's what I'm doing. And then all the other nonsense can be kind of later on in the day. And I think people have a really hard time shutting out the noise to focus in.
If you are a real estate agent, I hope you heard what he just said, because this is there is no secret to success in this business. You just gave it away. If there's a secret, you just gave it away.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Hold
on. So from there, how do you deal with people that are just not giving it their all?
So I think right now we're in a really different time in our market. And, you know, you and I had this conversation maybe a week or so ago about, you know, whether or not to keep it small and tight, or go, you know, big and wide. And I think what we kind of have talked about is doing a rehiring process. The only people that are going to be on our team are people that are all in. If you are not all in, then you're a bad culture fit. Then other people are going to see that. And it just took 2 weeks ago, we let go of 4 people because they weren't all in. You know, I can look at everything they're doing. They haven't logged into their email in 3 days. And unfortunately for me, it's easier to rip that Band-Aid off and to continue to grow forward, instead of looking at these people and say, hey, how can I fix an issue? If you don't have a big enough why to fix your own issue, and have a big enough desire to do what you said you were going to do, then this isn't a market you're going to survive in.
Yeah.
Hey, you're actually kind of doing them a favor.
Truly,
right.
So I read a post by somebody that you and I both know, you and I both, I would imagine, respect, last week. And he said, it was on Facebook, and he said, he hears all the time, he's a coach, and he said he hears all the time that, you know, people saying, you know, I can't force people to, you know, do something that they don't want to do. And he said, I think that that's BS. I think that that's leadership. And that and so I'm reading this and I'm like, I totally disagree with that. Like, to your point, there's got to be something inside of you. Not that you can't, you know, I think it was Jim, I think it was Rohn that said, or Zig or somebody that said, you know, motivation is fleeting. You know, you can, if you motivate an idiot, what do you have? A motivated idiot, right? So motivation is temporary. There's got to be something deeper inside that, you know, when you get around somebody like you, for example, that because you're modeling the behavior each and every day. Yeah. So if they're just not willing to go do the behavior that leads to the results for whatever reason, then they're not going to make it. They're not going to be successful. So I thought that was an interesting perspective, and something that I didn't actually agree with.
I was thinking about that actually quite a bit on the way up. Not in particular that, but basically what my why is, and kind of why I do things. And I think I might be a little bit different in that sense too, where for me it's not, and I know you know, you guys, which I have as well, kind of looked 100 years down the road and say, hey, where do I want to be, and kind of work backwards from there. But for me, it's the little things. It's like my daughter yesterday in the car, she was 5 years old and she's already crying because she's embarrassed that she is not learning how to do things in gymnastics, able to keep up with her friends. And the fact that I can drop her off to school, call a coach, and have a coach there at the end of the day, pay for it for weeks without any questions or even asking what they cost, that's why. That's why I'm working my ass off. It's because I can do those things for my family without even thinking about it. And then the other side of it is,
you didn't tell her to suck it up and just to get.
No. What did they say? Yeah, we make easy times. Strong men make easy times.
So that was one of my questions for you.
That's what we do. I got 3 girls, or 2 and another girl on the way. So it's be a little bit different. But it's like that, and then it's also a fear. It's not. I think a lot of my why at this point is fear. It's fear of kind of losing everything that you've built, everything that you have.
That's interesting.
And that is a big motivator for me as well.
You shared the same
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah.
I think a lot of like top performers, top producers have that fear, and whether it's healthy or not, it just is what it is.
It doesn't feel
that's how we operate.
It feels like anybody could take what you've built.
You got to keep
in
fighting.
2 seconds. And just, my wife puts me in check all the time. She's like, you told me you were worried about stuff like this last year. I'm like, yeah, well, she's listening.
Right.
Yeah. There you go.
So, you've shared a little bit, going back to your discipline, your routine, your work ethic. Are there some things that you do? So if a new agent is listening and they want to do what you did, 40 houses in the first year, 80 the second year, team of a 20 by your third year, right? Because I think I was told that, did you like build a room or something in your garage that you go in for your 2 to 3 hours of lead gen per day?
Yeah.
And everyone knows, like, do not knock on this door unless you're like bleeding or dying or something like that.
That's my garage.
That's your
My wife has her garage. I have my garage. I've basically built my bunker. It's I've got a full blown commercial gym in my garage, and I also have had a friend build out in a full blown office inside my garage. So I will go in there every single morning. I'm either in there or in the office, just kind of depending on what's going on. And I shut it down. I shut off. I'm really good at limiting distractions. I don't even have social media on my phone, which might be an issue.
No, I think that's great. So I was going to ask what measures do you, how are you eliminating that? Like when you say that, do you shut down all the, don't even look at my computer right now. Do you shut down all the windows on your computer except for your lead gen tab? Like what are you doing?
This is really technical, but so when you're opening your database and you have all these follow-up tasks for the day, is what I actually do is I open up each task in its own separate window. So I'll actually have like 20 to 30 tasks open in the window, and I go through. I don't make any, I don't accept any inbound calls. I don't respond to any text messages. I don't do any kind of responding. And I will go through each one of those windows, accomplish my task, send in properties, whatever it is, reset their task for a later date, close the window, move to the next window.
Like a file.
And that's it.
Wow.
It's as simple
as that. That's so ninja. I actually didn't know that piece. I love that. I love the tabs. I've got a lot of tabs open right now, and that are not that are not leads. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think it's so relevant, because you've got your time block, in your bunker, right? So many like little nuggets there. Hope you're hearing this. So your time block is from when to when?
8 to 11.
From 8 to 11, and that is specifically for outbound lead generation.
Correct.
Okay, the whole time, that 8 to 11 outbound. Okay, and so the tabs are up. You open up your CRM, which is what?
Sierra Interactive.
Sierra Interactive and that's it.
That's it.
No follow-up boss or anything.
I keep everything very simple.
Okay, Sierra Interactive, and then so you just open up tabs for all of these tasks. That's how you start, and then you're just going right to left.
Right to left.
Yeah, love that. That's
That's amazing. What lead gen system are you using for, or software are you using for your?
So that's the Sierra Interactive.
That is the Sierra.
Yeah.
That's
cut that, Tim. Stephanie's not paying attention.
No, I'll explain that in a minute. Sorry. Okay, so Sierra Interactive is what you're using for that.
Yep.
Okay, so going back to your kids, because I worry about this myself. How are you going to try to instill these lessons to your children?
I have not got that figured out yet. They're so young, and I'm already terrified.
I mean, are you going to take the method of your dad
when
they break a leg? It's different with girls too.
Hard lessons. We're intentionally doing public school because of that. We want the real life lessons there. Because my wife went through public school, I went through public school, and my wife also believes that makes you tough. There's a lot of just crap that kids deal with, and you learn how to deal with it, and it makes you stronger. Being in sports all year round is a big piece of it. And then I know you guys are kind of at that college point. I haven't really figured out what we want to do at that point, but it's ultimately going to be just teaching our kids differently than how everybody else is teaching our kids. I think just doing things differently is going to provide different results. And if your kids aren't different, then, the majority of people are not happy. They're
I agree.
Not making money. They're not
agree.
doing anything. They're stuck.
Yeah.
Man, so we've been saying this for years, Matt. Walk away from the 97%. Like, don't walk like they walk. Don't talk like they talk. Don't read what they read. Don't do what they do. Don't listen to what they're listening to, because 97% are walking off a cliff, financially, relationally, spiritually. And we just connected with a what's her name, honey? The woman out of.
Oh, I can't remember what her name is, but she has a handle called Future of Education. She is in Austin, Texas, and she's basically revamping education as we know it, because of all the things that we just talked about in this podcast, that kids are taught in a box. Everybody's taught the same way, but yet people are
for the past 100 years.
Yeah, people are graduating from college. They don't know what they want to do. They've got this massive debt. Now they get a job that they think it's going to pay more than what it does, and now they're struggling to pay off the debt, and it just seems to be this cycle. It's not working, but everybody keeps doing the same thing.
They do the same thing, even with good jobs. My little sister's a nurse, right? She's a nurse at Boston Medical. She did her time in school, and she made a comment the other day that, fortunately, it hasn't really resonated with me until you talk to people like that. And she's like, she makes good money. Her fiance's in the union. She's like, how are we ever going to afford a house? How are we ever going to pay off our debt? It's just a broken system.
It's a broken system.
Yeah.
So she's created this it's called 2 hour. She does like school for 2 hours, and where they actually teach the academic portion of math, science, maybe
awesome.
logic, writing, and then the rest of the day, she doesn't hire teachers, she hires guides. And the rest of the day, she believes in helping to guide the students where their passions can intersect their talents. And she believes that when your passions can intersect your talents, that's where the magic can happen. And so their students work on these things called passion projects, where they take something that they're really excited and passionate about in life, and then that guide kind of helps them figure out a path to make that happen. So one kid that she interviews on her page, he had a passion to start a bike park, an outdoor bike park in Austin, Texas, and he's raised $3.5 million in capital already.
This is in high school?
He's 18 years old.
Yes, in high school.
By the way, he scored near perfect on the SATs in 2 to 3 hours a day of schooling, traditional school. And what kid even knows what raising capital means? For one thing.
I barely know what that means.
What? I know you do know what it means, but I want to get into that in a second.
I only know what it means because I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And he's raised this capital, and he's getting this project done, and he's 18 years old. And I'm like, this school is teaching kids communication, inspiration,
entrepreneurship, how to manage money,
how to raise capital. That is a model for success. And so anyway, I would love to have her on this podcast. I've reached out to her. I want to explore. I'd love to bring something like that to Richmond.
Definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, I love that you. Here's one thing that and then I'll go on to you, Clayton. One of the things you said before we got on this podcast when we were just chatting is that you went into the military because you didn't know what you wanted to do.
Right.
And I think that's admirable. I know it freaked your mom out. But the reason I think it's admirable is because I am seeing, one, you didn't do what everybody else is doing because it was the thing to do. So you forged your own path, and you thought, this doesn't make sense for me to go to college and pick a major when I don't even know what I want to do with my life. Like, let me go get some life experience first, learn some skills, learn some discipline, and then I'll figure that. Then once it makes sense, I'll go to college. And look at the amazing, I believe that's why you've had the success that you've had, is because you chose that path.
I think that's a big part of it. I knew by the time I got to school, I knew what I wanted. Didn't know exactly. I still didn't know exactly what I wanted, but I knew. But I knew what I didn't want.
You had more clarity than when you were 18.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's a huge advantage to anyone getting out of the military. Anyone who goes to school later, it's a huge advantage.
Yes. Yes, I love that. So great.
So, who today, like, so. When you, who are your mentors? Like who are your biggest inspirations, your mentors, the people that, who do you look for in a mentor? Like who are the people that are today that are kind of pushing you to the next level? Like, is that all you, or do you have people that you lean on that are like, no, like you can do more, dude?
I'm sitting right across the table
come on
right now.
Come on now.
I don't know if you did that on purpose or not.
I did not do that on purpose.
But yes, so definitely Clayton. And what's funny is actually one of the things that I wrote down 2023, one of the things I wanted to do was to find a bigger room. Because when you get in a room and people are talking about you, you're in the wrong room. So my career's kind of taken me to a point where what I'm enjoying right now is investing. And I'm looking at, I joined this group where people my age are flipping, wholesaling hundreds of properties a year and just completely blowing me out of the water. So I think going to events like that, I still haven't found out who it's going to be. I do have one guy that I'm working on. I'm
Is this
building
local?
a relationship with. No, it's based out of Tampa. It's Collective
Okay.
Genius. It's a really, really, really good group, good people, and it's a community. It's a kind of a community where, yes, you go to learn from others, but the expectation also is that you're going to give something back to that community. So the second, third day, the people that are there, the expectation is that you're going to present something to this group that's going to provide value to everybody. And I've kind of hit it off with one of the gentlemen in there. Is former military, does it at a really high level out of St. Louis, but still kind of building that relationship. But I'm targeting him as my mentor, so to speak.
So
Well-
I would imagine he's going to be your mentor at some point.
I think that so one of the biggest lessons I've learned just in the short time that we've done this podcast is we had a girl locally, Lori Eubank, we just interviewed. I don't know if you happen to watch that one. And she, in just a few years, I think she started 10 years ago. She already has, she has 71 long-term rentals, 14 Airbnbs. Her top Airbnb nets her on average $46,000 a month. So she has months where she's charging $3,000 a night on this Airbnb. And that was one of the biggest takeaways from that interview that we had with her, was that she was persistent in pursuing her mentors. And she got in the room. She went to a local investor group, and she met, and she took them to lunch, and she was like, "Can I be an intern for you? Can I sit at your feet and learn?"
Yeah.
And that's what she did. And so you're doing that, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I get that from you guys too. That's part of that whole legacy planning, and just writing down the people that you want to spend more time with versus the people that you don't want to spend time
Yeah.
with.
It's
And
equally important.
when you write it down, it sticks with you.
Yeah.
To the point where those people might be calling you that you don't want to spend time with, and it makes it a whole lot easier to just kind of racks your brain that, hey, this is probably not going to get me in any kind of direction that I want to go.
We are the average of the 5 people we spend
right.
the most amount of time with. That is a fact. And I was telling this story yesterday. I got up yesterday morning, and did my things, and then I walked into my daughter's room around 6 in the morning, and she was sitting there reading The Power of One More by Ed Milet. She's 14, just turned 14 years old, and I said, baby, did you work out this morning? And she said, yeah. And I said, what time? She said, well, I got up at 4. And I wasn't up at 4.
She gets
I wasn't up at 4. And I was like, sweetie, that's a little, because I knew she was getting up earlier,
Yeah.
but I was like, baby, that's a little extreme. She was like, I went to bed at 8.
and I was like,
Yeah. I did the finger math too. I was like, yeah, okay, you're good. Good. But I think part of back to, it's modeling. It's modeling. So your girls are going to see what you live
Yes.
your life, how you live your lives.
Right.
And they're gonna model that behavior. It was also Rome that used to say, if the parents are okay, the kids are okay, typically, right?
Yeah.
So, I as much as I wanted to like push back on that a little bit, because I'm like, oh, you're taking it a little too
know,
far.
I did the same thing.
But at the same time, I'm really proud because while she was in her room reading The Power of One More, our other 16-year-old daughter was down here working out, and all of this before school. All of this before school, right?
and they do that every day.
And they do
It's
it
amazing.
just about every day, and
Sometimes
it also
twice a day.
And it also means that they're not thinking about boys right now. Right?
Nope.
They could care less about.
literally don't have time.
Yeah.
No taking on that one.
So
Soon.
so let's talk about, as we kind of wind down here. Let's talk a little bit about real estate investing. So
Yeah.
so what got you into that? Where are you today? And what's the long term?
Yeah, I
what's
wanna
the
know
plan there?
Yeah, I think what got me into it was falling into a few of them by happenstance and realizing that is a much higher leverage activity. There's way bigger returns in doing it, and that it takes absolutely no more effort than it does to sell a house. Basically, I'm running the exact same business that I ran in my sales business, applying it to different types of leads, and just having consistent action day over day that's converting. Getting in front of people, providing them with a solution. Typically they're in a situation that you're able to give a win-win, get a great deal on a property, either flip it, wholesale it, whatever. And it's just more enjoyable for me because I don't have I'm so used to having 100 different client interactions going on at
Yeah.
once.
Yeah.
Whereas this, I actually looked at the numbers a few days ago. And I was like, wow, I feel like I don't have a lot of properties under contract. But then I'm looking at the numbers in my projected profit over the next 2 months, and it's significantly larger, which is a great
with
indicator
the
that I'm heading.
8 that you've bought
Yes.
in the last
Yeah.
2 months.
Well, I'm the kind of person that if I don't do well with silence or sitting still, and if I'm home at night and like I got time to watch a TV show tonight, I'm thinking something's wrong, which is like I actually wrote a note down. I was like, review the numbers tomorrow. Let's see what's going on. And I was like, well, shoot, I went to gymnastics, basketball, and I came home and we had dinner and I kind of did what I want to do. With 0 people calling me, 0 people bugging me, no issues because I'm the buyer. And I might have 5 properties under contract right now, but my profit margin is going to be 5 times what it was.
So let's talk about that. What are you looking for in terms of, like, so when you see and you're mostly flipping right now, you're not buying and holding?
Yeah, just because there's a little bit of a, I don't know, kind of an ethical challenge to be like wholesaling properties. If I'm also a real estate agent, I just don't want those. I don't want to cross those barriers. So if I'm meeting with the seller, I'm gonna go ahead and offer them if I offer you, let's just say $100,000 on a house, I'm gonna close on that house for $100,000. I'm not gonna drop a surprise on them at the end and say, hey, we actually wholesaled it to Clayton for $150,000. And then them see that and hold that against me and cause all kinds of ethical issues.
Yeah, that's well said. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So what kind of profit margins are you looking for you?
Yeah. So I'm not taking on a flip. If I'm doing it as an individual, I'm not taking on a flip that's going to make me less than $60,000. So I do basically I'm offering 65 to 70% after repair value, and if I am doing it myself, I will be a little bit more lenient, where I'll make somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000 a flip. But a lot of these ones also, I'm giving that as an opportunity to team agents, right? Find a flip, we'll fund the flip, we'll pay for the repairs, you manage the project, we'll split the proceeds. Stole that out of someone's playbook. And people are taking advantage of it. Right, so I not only have these flips that I'm doing, but we also have team agents that are doing flips, making more money than they made all of last year in a single flip.
So let's talk about, are they 50-50? So they're so they're putting,
there's a few factors, but pretty close.
So you're still doing what Kiabi is hard. Yep. So 90-10, you bring the 10%, you split that with your team agent.
Correct.
Okay. And then just split the profit.
That's right.
Got it. Okay.
That's awesome.
They're managing the flip.
project, the contractors. We have a few that we're pretty much using every single time now, so that makes it really easy just because we get good prices on everything, and they're reliable, so we're not really running into major contractor issues. And the people that are taking me up on this, it's not the person who doesn't know real estate. It's the person who can see the big picture and can see what kind of value that would provide to their family. Just a little bit higher level of a thinker. So there's somebody I can trust a little bit more.
So when you say 50,000-60,000, you're splitting that with the agent? No.
I'm talking.
You're talking
if
100,
I'm doing a flip, I'm making
$100 to $120.
$100,000.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Yep.
That's great. We probably need to.
Yeah. Start wrapping up. So I want to kind of finish up on this, Matt, because I could talk to you for hours.
I know. Same. I'm sad
one of the things that really that inspires me about you and frustrates me about others is this isn't hard. What we do is not hard. Like what you went through in the military, that was hard. That was hard. Some of the things you went through, that was hard. Some of the things you shared with us prior to this podcast, that some of the things that you had to do and in service of your country, that was hard. What we do in real estate and what we ask others to do as team leaders, it's not hard. It's not hard. And my team hates it when I say this, because they work, they work, right? But the real work happens for you between 8 and 11.
Correct.
And so that's, success is boring. And if you walk away with nothing else from this podcast, just know that Matt has, it's the compound effect. And if you haven't read the book, go buy it, Darren Hardy. It didn't take Matt 10, 15 years. It took him a year to sell 40 houses. It took him 2 years. In his second year, he sold 80. In his third year, he sold over 100. His fourth year, he's going to sell well over 200. He's got a team of 20 plus agents. And now he's pretty much focused on investing using the same 8 to 11. Now he's just focused on calling owners and investor leads, and he's more profitable. I hope you heard this. He's more profitable over the next 2 months than he would have been had he stayed in sales and done the same amount of, right? So it's the same system, and you could pretty much apply that, which you've done this to anything. You did that to get your foot in the door at Deloitte. Like, you were just relentless with getting in front of the right people. So I hope that you're inspired. Like, this is not rocket science, man. And one of the other things I love about you, Matt, is just how humble you are. And you're because I know you don't change when you're on the phone. And it's just. And I know you've got your scripts and your things, but you treat people like people. The expectation is if somebody doesn't want to do business with you, I'm sure it's like, okay, next.
I'm here if you ever need anything.
I'm here if you need anything. That's right. Next.
And
right?
You are an example of how habits compound. Habits compound in the positive or the negative. So, if you were getting up every day and being a lazy slob and not going to work and eating a gallon of ice cream every day, then you wouldn't look like you do, and you wouldn't have the success that you've had. But it works the opposite way as well. And you put in the hours every day, and you work hard, and you take care of yourself. It shows up on the opposite end too, which is just the coolest thing. And you are a culmination of all of that. Thank you.
You inspire us, brother.
Yeah, totally. I could literally sit here for another hour or two.
Anything you want to
I don't
say?
feel like enough time.
Anything you want to say as we wrap up here?
I think the only thing I'd add would be, I'd say the one thing that we didn't really hit on was I would highly credit the idea of basically where I've gotten, how I've gotten, is just by continuously providing a value to other people. And I think after you get that point where you kind of get out of individual sales, that's all it is, providing different value opportunities to teams. You give other people opportunities, and you're going to grow as a result. That's it.
I love that, man.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Matthew P. Kane, Coastal Carolina's favorite agent.
There you go.
I love it.
There you go.
Awesome.
So again, get in the room, and sometimes you got to fight to get in the room, just like Matt did with Deloitte, and just like he does pretty much every day, whether it's real estate, working with buyers or sellers, or working with investors, and whatever he decides to do next, he's going to be successful because he fights to get in the room, as we all should. We'll see you next time.